Welcome back to the Pawd Checkerboard Chats. Today we have Jeff Tedford with us today, who's going to be inducted to the Ring of Honor. Also, I have my co-host, Paul Loeffler.
Good to be here.
So, Jeff, what are your first memories of playing football? I want to go all the way back.
That's a long time. I started playing tackle football when I was 8 years old. And my first memory of that first season was I was a really small kid, and they had this drill. This one line ran this way, and the other line ran this way. One line carried the ball, and the other line tackled this person. And I remember I really liked this line, but I hated that line. And so I wanted to quit, and I did quit the first year. I came off the field and told my brother, I don't want to do this anymore. And I don't think he talked to me for a whole year after that. So I got back in football the next year, but I started very early.
How did you get into the quarterback role?
It's just something that came natural, really. You know, I think growing up of being with my brother and playing out in the yard and things like that, it became fairly natural. But I was always really small. You know, I was really small going into high school and everything like that. I didn't make my junior high flag football team. They cut me, and I was playing Pop Warner, so I don't think I ran fast enough. But anyway, it just kind of came natural, and I really always had a very competitive instinct in me, almost too much at the time. In Pop Warner, if something happened, I'd go off the rails and get on my teammates and you know, grab them or kick them or something. And my brother's like, you can't do that. You got to stop that. But from a very early age, I was very intense and highly competitive.
So we can hear your brother was a factor in your learning the game, but are there some other people that you look back on the early years, you're like, that person really taught me the game or helped me fall in love with the game?
Yeah, I mean, the game came pretty natural from my brother, but my mentors were my coaches. My high school coach, my junior college coach, and then obviously Coach Sweeney here at Fresno State. But the thing I'll never forget, I lived in a single-parent home, and really, when I was in the ninth grade, I didn't have a lot of direction, didn't know what I was going to do, and so after school one day, I'll never forget, Coach Mazzota, who was the varsity coach, saw me wandering around on the blacktop, and he called me up into his office, and I have no idea why, because I was a skinny little kid. He had no idea I was going to be a decent football player. And he spent about an hour talking to me. And when I left his office, I knew that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be just like him. And so that year, after that season, he was never my high school coach because he went to be the Cerritos College coach, head football coach. And so I had another great coach, Randy Drake, who took over, and he was a great mentor. And then I ended up going to Cerritos College to finally play for Coach Mazzota. And so those guys really had a strong impact on my life and my direction of who I wanted to emulate.
Now, speaking of who you wanted to emulate, I don't think I've ever asked you, like, who was your boyhood football hero? Was there a guy on TV slinging the ball around that you're like, yeah, I want to play like that guy?
I think it was Joe Namath.
Yeah?
Yeah, I had Joe Namath pajamas on. I remember the little New York Jet number 12 Joe Namath pajamas on running around as a little kid. So I think that was the first impression that I had.
Love it.
So you've had a long coaching career. How important is it to have your family, specifically your wife, Donna, be your backbone through all of that?
Unbelievably important. Both Donna and Taylor and Quinn, my sons, there's a lot of sacrifice that goes with the profession. And so their support and sacrifice through my career has been awesome. And so I really owe them a lot. Donna is very, very special because not only supportive of my profession as a coach and giving me the space to be committed to reach our goals, she was an awesome coach's wife with the other coaches' wives. And she took a lot of pride in that. And so I think had a lot of friendships with them along the way, and still to this day I get the comments from all my former coaches saying Donna was the best head coach's wife we could ever have. And so Donna put a lot into it. as well as raising the kids and dealing with my ups and downs and things like that, which isn't easy to do sometimes.
Yeah, she's the best.
And, speaking of Donna, I was just thinking, Coach, as you're talking, we talk a lot about your days as a quarterback at Fresno State, as an assistant here, as a head coach at Cal at here, but your CFL days. I was just thinking, I'm sure you wanted to go straight to the NFL. You end up with this crazy career in Canada where, do you know this, Taylor? He actually played safety for a while.
No,
in
I
Canada.
didn't.
That's what kind of athlete this guy is. You ever think about how if your NFL dreams had worked out the way you wanted, you wouldn't have met Donna in Canada?
I don't want to think about that, 'cause that's one of the most fortunate things that ever happened to me. I think God has a plan and put me in that position. That's probably one of the best pieces of advice Coach Sweeney gave me was, it was the year of the quarterback when I was coming out, so you had Elway and Marino and Blackledge and Eason and all these guys, mm-hmm. and I was small, I wasn't like that, and he said, you need to go play in Canada. They're offering you a contract, and that's where you're going to have your best chance of some longevity, because you're not going to make it in the NFL. And some people would be really hurt by that comment, like you're crushing my dreams or whatever. I took that to heart. I'm saying, okay, great, that's what I'm going to do. And so it was a blessing to be in Calgary and meet Donna, and that's where our football life started. She didn't know a whole lot about football at the time, and she still hates it when we run up the middle, though. She's like, why are you doing that? That's so stupid. Stop running the ball up the middle or throw it. So she hates when we run up the middle.
I'm sure she's not the only one. And I guess since I brought up the safety thing, you want to explain for people who haven't heard that story how that happened, how you came to not only play safety in the CFL, but actually come up with an interception, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, you have a really good memory. Yes, I was the backup quarterback. I played behind two Hall of Fame guys in Canada, Dieter Brock and Tom Clements. So I was the backup, and it was Thursday before a Saturday game, and there's a ratio with Americans and Canadians on the team, and one of our American defensive backs didn't clear protocol with a concussion. So I got a call on Thursday morning from the defensive back coach, or the defensive coordinator, who asked me what I thought about playing safety in the game. I'm like, yeah, sure. So I went in, and in 2 days, I thought maybe I'm going to get 5 plays or something like that. I played probably 3/4 of the game. It was incredible, and I loved it. It was so much fun. And I got to play against my former teammate, Kevin Molly, who played on the offensive line in our 82 season. And they had me blitzing up the middle and blitzing off the edge, and I thought I was just going to play back there, and roam center field. And I'm up there in the mix. And they ran counter one time, and I had to set the edge. And here came Big Molly, and he buried me. And twisted my knee under my leg, and I'm like, get your big butt off me. He was just cracking up and laughing. But that was a great experience. I had a lot of fun. I had to take 2 sets of shoulder pads. I had to take my quarterback pads and my defensive back pads. And a good friend of mine played on the other team. I won't mention his name. But he overthrew a ball, and I intercepted it. And so I never let him live that down because we ended up playing together, and then I ended up coaching on a team that he was on. So I always had one up on him that I played one game and picked you off. Come on. It wasn't a real good one, though. It's an overthrown ball, and I dove and caught it. But, I didn't really do anything
Still an
special.
interception.
I didn't do anything special.
When you look back on your journey through this program, first as a player, what moments stand out to you?
A lot. A long time ago, 81, 82, and I was really fortunate that Coach Sweeney came to Cerritos and recruited me. Mm-hmm. I'll never forget the day he walked on campus there at Cerritos with his red blazer on, and, he looked like John Wayne to me. He just had such a persona about him, and so then able to come here on a trip and then really love my time as a player. So many really, really good teammates. We really built the team on, I think, junior college recruits. We had a lot of junior college guys come in. Stephon Page, Fran O'Brien, Mac McKnight, a lot of guys who came in, and we had a good foundation with the guys that were there, really tough guys. I remember the offensive line, really tough guys, and we ended up winning our last game of the year. We went 5-6. I didn't earn the starting job till probably the fourth game, maybe something like that. And then we beat Arizona the last game of the year, who would just the week before beat USC, and SC was number 1, I believe. And so that was a great springboard for us to go into the off season. And then we really, really had a special group. And the 1982 season was phenomenal. We won 11-1 and had just a great group of guys who had very strong belief. And we had the unfortunate, tragic accident of the coaches' wives. And so the latter part of the season, we kind of played kind of a skeleton crew of a coaching staff because they had more important things to deal with. But our leadership, I think, was so strong that we weren't going to be denied. And then I think that was proven by like our last-minute comeback against UNLV to win our last game. And then the California Bowl comeback to be down 28-7 in the fourth quarter and come back to win 29-28. So we had a lot of great players, a lot of great people, friends for life. We had a really strong bond. And so they were great times.
I was watching back some of that video this week, and I forgot how fast you were. On some of those bootlegs, I mean, you showed some real wheels out there. Did you pride yourself on being a tough runner in addition to finding Henry and Stefan and Vince out there?
Well, I wouldn't say that. I think I moved my feet fast, but I wasn't gaining much ground. I wasn't real fast. But I was probably more quick than I was fast. But, they set us up for, success. The coaches did a great job, and the offensive line was great. And so, but, I tried to be competitive whenever I touched the ball. And so, but was very fortunate that year with our whole team success. My name's on it of leading the country in total touchdowns, 24 passing and 8 rushing. But that was really a product of Henry and Stefan and the rest of the receiving corps. And the tight ends. I can't forget the tight ends. They'll give me a hard time. I'm going to see a couple of them this weekend, so I better throw those guys in there. But, those runs weren't anything dynamic. I'm not sure if I ever ran for a touchdown over 5 yards. They were just on the goal line, So, but it was really a team effort, and I just happened to be fortunate to be the quarterback of that great team.
And the stadium was brand new then. I mean, you were the first star quarterback in the Bulldog Stadium era, now Valley Children's Stadium. Do you remember how big a deal that was at that time to have this new stadium here in the Valley?
Well, I didn't know because that's all I knew. When I came here, I played in the first full year of the stadium, 1981. I think they played their last game in 1980 in the stadium. So I played in the first full year, but that's all I ever knew. I heard stories about Ratcliffe Stadium, but I didn't know any different. And I knew exactly how many stairs there were in the stadium because that's all we did for conditioning is run up and down those stairs. But we had no facilities. We didn't really have a weight room. We had to come across the street to the North Gym to work out on all those universal machines. And so sometimes there was a fitness club down on Blackstone called Rain Tree at the time. And we would have to jog to Rain Tree, work out, and then turn around and jog back to the stadium. So, but the stadium was awesome, and Coach Sweeney used to always say of our group that the 77 team were the stadium builders and we were the stadium fillers. And so we had great fan support, and it was a very exciting place to play.
As a coach, are there any games or plays that still give you goosebumps to this day?
Oh, man, there's so many. Both as players, both as a player and as an assistant coach and as a head coach. I spent a lot of time here over the time, because as a player, there were a lot of great plays. I mean, watching Henry run and watching Vince Wesson catch that ball and get down in the end zone for the game winner at Bowling Green. But, there were a lot of great plays. And then as assistant coach, we had some good times as well. Beating SC in the Freedom Bowl was very exciting. I remember going back, we I think we won the WAC championship our first year in the WAC, which was a big deal. And then the following year beating BYU, who was kind of the kings of the WAC at that point. And, so a lot of exciting times there, a lot of exciting plays as a head coach. I do remember the most nerve-wracking play, though. We played Utah at home, and we were backed up. It was the first play of the game. We were backed up like on our 3-yard line. And I was an assistant coach, and Coach Sweeney said, call the double pass. And we didn't even know what defense they were going to be in. We're backed up on the 3. We're going to throw it backwards into the end zone. I'm like, what? And he told the guy on the headset, tell him to call the double pass. So first play of the game, boom, boom, 97-yard touchdown or whatever it was. It was awesome. That's the kind of feel that Coach Sweeney had for the game. But I was kind of nervous about that, doing that. But there's many of terrific plays, individual accomplishments of guys who really laid it on the line. Both when I was an assistant and as a head coach, we had great days here, winning 3 Western Division championships and 2 conference titles, and taking 2 of them off the blue turf at Boise was something that I don't think anybody thought was possible, but our kids knew it was, and so those were exciting times for sure.
Yeah, talk about the walk-off touchdown in the snow. That's, I think, one of my most memorable games.
Yeah, that was an overtime. Weren't we in overtime?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and we ran the option out of a heavy set, and it was very well executed because we kind of missed our block at the point of attack on the end by the tight end. The guy slipped inside. So the guy we were really supposed to option was outside of that. And so he kind of leaked through, and Marcus did a great job of pitching the ball. And then Ronnie outran the other guy and kind of stepped out of it, high-stepped out of it, and went in the end zone. And there's nothing like that. When you're playing such a competitive game like that for the championship and, in Boise, in the snow, all the things that were really challenging, and to have that happen, there's nothing better than seeing your team celebrate. I wasn't ever really over emotional about things, but the gratification really came from seeing the guys that put in all the hard work, the effort, the energy, the sacrifice of getting up every single day at 5:30 and being at the place by 6:15 at the stadium and working so hard throughout the season. To see them accomplish something like that, that's the most gratifying thing there is.
And since we're playing San Diego State, I feel like I have to bring up the 2022 game, Jake's first game back. You have that crazy comeback. What was that like?
Yeah, that was pretty crazy. There was a lot going on in that game. I don't know if many people knew this, but I had been in the hospital. I had 2 stents put in on that Monday and didn't come back to work till Wednesday. And so that wasn't the best way to start off a game after having 2 stents put in. But, but that's the belief and the execution we had, and we were well coached throughout. So we scored a touchdown, converted the 2-point play, and then perfect execution of an onside kick. So Coach Baxter did a great job of that. And then the very first play through an option route to Nico, who broke a tackle and took it the distance. But, that was 15 points in 13 seconds. I don't think I've ever been around anything like that before.
And then an interception to finish it off with CJ. That was just, I've never seen a sequence like that in any game ever. And it changed so much. Without those moments, you don't win a championship that year. But we know you did win 2 championships. You just reminded us 3, Western Division titles in those years. We know that now in the rearview mirror. But when you took this job, when you decided to come back home to the Valley where you played, where you'd been an assistant, when Fresno State was coming off a 1-win season, did any of your coaching buddies tell you were crazy? Did any of them question what you were getting yourself into?
No, not at all. I wasn't worried about it because I didn't really care what happened in the past. I'd been down that road before at Cal, where they came off a 1-win season, and we turned that around and had the biggest turnaround in college football that year. And so I didn't, that really didn't bother me. it's just come in and go to work. And I have a lot of respect and admiration for that 2017 team, because coming off of one win, life is not a lot of fun. You're embarrassed by it. You don't, it really affects your confidence and all the little things that go on. And so to build the trust and confidence with them, they have to be able to allow you into their life and believe. And our coaching staff, that was number one, is hire a great coaching staff that not just great coaches and teachers, but great people. And we were able to do that. And it was great, having Coach DeBoer and Coach Grubb and everybody else who came on that staff. They're just really, really good people. And the one thing I really believe about that coaching staff was there was no ego. We played complementary football. If the offense was doing great, the defense didn't have to take a lot of risk. If the defense was doing great, the offense didn't have to take a lot of risk. And there were no egos involved in numbers. And so really fortunate to have great people around us. But that team was a special team. If you remember, we started out playing Alabama and Washington.
Exactly.
And they were the ones in the college football playoff the year before, right? So, but we competed really hard and played physical and weren't intimidated. That was something we had to get over, though, because one of our very first meetings, we had what's called a unity meeting. One of the players stood up and said, "Who put Alabama on the schedule? Why do we have to play them?" I'm like, whoa, time out. What are you talking about? Why do we have to play them? We get to play them. Amen. That's why we're doing this. And so I think they took those experiences and gained a lot of confidence, even though they were losses, that we could play with anyone. And then from then on, went on to win 10 games, which, again, I think was some history thing in college football, to go from one win season to a double-digit win, and then to follow that up with another 12-win season. That's the first time that had ever been done in college football history. So those kids have something to be very, very proud of that they should never forget, because they're really the ones who did all the hard work for it and believed in what was going on. And so they were special kids. I have a great relationship with those guys, and very appreciative of how they approached the work.
How would you describe the culture and the standard of Fresno State football?
The culture and the standard is all about grit, toughness, exciting, detail-oriented. I think that's a standard that at least we tried to play with, that there's a standard of doing your best. And, because all you can ask for is their best, right? And that was a standard of just play hard-nosed, fast, fundamentally sound football. I think that's, from our days with Coach Sweeney, that's what it was. And when I look back I think in 1981 and 82 was the foundation of the exciting offense. Well, we played really good defense as well, don't get me wrong. But 81, 82 was really the foundation of the ball starting to be thrown and being an exciting brand. Because in 77, when they won it, it was with the option with Dean Jones. And so that was the foundation with Henry and Stephon and all the other receivers. And that offense was very exciting to watch. And then the great Kevin Sweeney came after that, and then here we went, and then, you have everybody in between, all the great receivers, all the great quarterbacks, and Derek gets here, and Devontae, and, back with Stephen Baker and Gene Taylor, and you could go on and on and on with the excitement of what the offense was all about here. And then, of course, coming to the Valley Bulldog tough football of, when you're practicing 110-degree weather and grinding hard. And, I think that's been kind of our reputation of, you may beat us, but you're going to know you've been in the game. And so it's going to be physical and tough. And I don't think that mentality has ever left us.
I think anyone who talks about your success as a coach, or what made you special, what contributed to your greatness, at some point in that conversation, the phrase detail-oriented is going to come up. There's this microscopic level of detail, time management that everybody sees in you because it's there. And I'm wondering if you've been able to turn that switch off in retirement in the grandpa life, or do you have like spreadsheets for what your grandkids are doing and what, I mean, how's that working out, Coach?
Yeah, no, I admit to being that way, of really trying to be very detailed. And my biggest fear was always that the kids wouldn't have the answers to the tests. And as a coach, I think that's our job, is to make sure that the games are easy because everything happened in practice. And the details of just discipline, though, of having a clean locker room and having the pride in your program and doing things the right way and treating people with respect and gratitude for what we were able to do. So it's not just the X's and O's, it's all things off the field. Making sure that they go to class, making sure they reach their full potential academically, socially, of raising the kids and making sure we're making good decisions off the field. So there was a lot that went into it. But turn it off, it took me a little while, but Donna reminded me about that. Yeah. So as I was in the house and, hey, shut this that way or do this way, she said, time out. No, you're the coach over there. You're not the coach here. So I learned, but I'm a quick learner. So I learned very quickly just to keep my mouth shut and go about it. So no, I've kind of backed off of that. But still, when I watch college football these days, I still get a little excited about things that aren't done maybe properly in a certain phase of the game or whatever that may be. A detail that I know can change the game, and if it doesn't, whether it be ball security, whether it be the ball in the wrong hand, whether it be, whatever it may be, right, that I know that can come back and bite you, and I never wanted that to be us. That if we could grind on the football field and on the practice field and hold everyone accountable for the details, for the fundamentals, then the games, it should carry over to the games. And thankfully for us, it did most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Fresno State might have the most rivalry trophies in college football. We have, 3? And then if you add in Hawaii also saying that we're their rival, what about Fresno State makes other teams want to give them their best shot?
I think it's tradition. I think it's tradition and being relevant. We've been relevant quite a few times. I know when we were here, we were in the top 25 a couple times and maybe one other time and then fell out of it. So I think the relevancy of the program, I think if you can come and knock us off, especially at home, you've accomplished something, So like I said before, when you play Fresno State, you're going to have a tough game. That's just the way it's going to be, So they take a lot from that, I think. But we also did as well. We have a lot of respect for our rivals, whether it be San Diego State or Boise or what's the other trophy, San Jose. Mm-hmm. Those things mean a lot. They give you something to play for, and so the kids take a lot of pride in that. And there was one year we had all the trophies and a bowl trophy, and that doesn't happen all the time. We had all 3 trophies and a bowl victory. Oh, and the conference championship.
Yeah, so we
had 3, 4, 5 trophies. That it takes a lot to have that happen. And but yeah, we're going to get everyone's best shot. And that's I think that's a sign of respect. But that comes from many, many years of everyone who has gone through this program. From back in our day as players, and then all the way through Pat Hill's teams and what he accomplished here, and the grit and toughness that they always portrayed and played with. That relevance and that tradition was earned. And Coach Sweeney, Coach Hill, Coach DeRuiter did a great job, won championships. So there's been a long history of people who have been successful here that have really created that tradition, I think. And I think that maybe is what makes rivalry games so important.
As a player and as a coach, how would you describe the fan base and the support that the program gets?
Oh, they're great. You know, the fans are great. Just a tough place to play. There's no question. I hear it all the time from because off the field you become friends with the other coaches, right? And they always talk about how hard it is to play here. So our fans are very supportive about what goes on. Very opinionated too, So if you're not doing any stuff right, you're going to hear about it. They're not afraid to get on the coach either. So but I think it's expectation. It goes back to what we just talked about, the tradition and the expectation of what the product they expect on the field, and that's okay. They pay their money to come. They're into it. I think this is such a special place. I mean, this is the team in this town, right? There's no other pro team. This is the one that they get to come and watch and cheer for and let it all out. And so they're awesome fans. They really are. And, it's going to be interesting this week coming up. They have a 12:30 game, so I hope they fill the house and stay for the whole game. Yep. And then cheer loud. My deal all the time is I could always tell, because they're great on third down. Our fans are awesome on third down. But I used to try to get them going on first and second down to make it hard on the opponent. And so that was challenging sometimes. But I always knew when they were giving away a pizza or a free T-shirt, because it got really loud in the stadium. I'm like, oh, it's first down, it's loud. Look up, there they go. There
What's the giveaway?
There goes a pizza.
Maybe we should give them away every first down. It is a big game, a 12:30 kick, and at halftime of that game, your name is going to join a pretty select list. And some of the fans giving you a standing ovation are going to be some of the same fans who stormed the field after you threw that game-winning touchdown in the Cow Bowl over 40 years ago. Have you thought about what that moment's going to feel like?
No, I haven't. It's I'm sure it's going to be very exciting, and I'm honored by it. I never expected it, but I'm very honored by it. I really am, to be a player, be an assistant coach, be a head coach. There's been so many years here, and but a lot of great times, a lot of great people, and you're right. A lot of people who were there for that game in 1982 who, stayed for that. A lot of people say they stayed for it. I think more people told me they stayed for the game that were actually at the game. Because when we were down, a lot of people left. But it was exciting. And I'm so appreciative of everyone, because my relationships and friendships with my family, my kids, myself, has been very special. And there's a lot of history here with us, and I enjoy and cherish all the relationships and friendships that we've made throughout a long period of time.
You've coached in a lot of places, lived in a lot of places, but what made you ultimately want to call Fresno home?
Well, we love Fresno. Fresno's been a big part of our life for a long, long time. And, my kids live here. Our grandkids are here. We know so many people in town that it's great to be able to have relationships and friendships like that. We're connected to Bulldog football, so we're always going to root and cheer for Bulldog football. And there's so much tradition and history that we have here. We've been here so long. We do bounce back and forth. We have a house in Carmel, so we bounce back and forth. But we love the people of Fresno. Fresno is an awesome town. We love it. We love the people. And so, we'll always keep a home here.
Coach, I think everyone just wants to say thank you for what you've given to Fresno State and congratulate you on this honor. And maybe we can pay that forward to some future coaches. What do you think, Taylor?
Yep.
Maybe get some advice from a legend here?
Advice to younger coaches. What would you say?
Oh, advice to younger coaches would be about some of the things we talked about, paying attention to details and fundamentals, but put it in perspective. I don't know that I did a great job throughout my life and my coaching career of putting things in perspective. I was probably a little bit over the top, and I think you need to create some balance in your life. You need to make sure that there's time for your family, and you let your coaches have time for their families. I thought I did a better job of that in the latter part of my career because I was over the top sleeping in the office and all that kind of stuff when I was at Cal. And but I think balance in life, caring for the players on and off the football field, that's the ultimate goal. That's why we're here, is to give the guidance for the players to reach their full potential in all areas of life, because from 17 to 23 years old, there's a lot of growth and development that goes on there. And there's a lot of kids trying to figure it out. And so to remember, it's not just about the wins and losses, which is important, but it's really about caring for the kids and watching them move on and being great fathers and husbands and great representatives in the community. Because now I can look back at it, 40 years, been coaching over 40 years, and I see these guys, not over 40 years, over 20 years, but now I see these guys in their 40s, and they're having their families, and they're running companies. And so what the information they give back to me is the culture and the environment that was created meant as much to them as the wins. And so don't ever forget who we're doing this for young coaches, is be interested in the players, care about the players, and have balance in your life, and you can still compete at a high level and pay attention to the details and fundamentals.
So life after football. What is it like being a grandpa? You got a lot of grandsons now. And hobbies. Have you picked up any hobbies?
Yeah, 3 grandsons and 1 granddaughter. So that's really nice to be around them. My 4-year-old grandson just started soccer, so try to go to his game all the time and kind of stand in the background and just watch him have fun. And so that's that. And besides that, we're doing a renovation over at the house, so that keeps me a little busy trying to think about that. And, just being with my wife. I think, it's my wife and I are probably as happy as we've ever been because we spend so much time together now. And we're not always doing something, but just being together and being able to reflect back on, our time and our years, because as you're doing it, there's really no time, at least I never took any time to reflect on it. And now we get to reflect on all the special people and memories in our lives. And so we have a great time together. So that's been really fun. Not a lot of hobbies, really. Golf every now and then. And but seeing as many friends as we can. But really relaxing. We're kind of new out of it. It's only been, a year and a half or something. And so we're kind of new out of it. But excited for it. We're extremely happy. And, as much as I get into the games, I'm kind of happy I'm sitting on the couch.
I think that's covered a lot, Coach. I was thinking maybe we can ask you, if football had not consumed your life for the last 40 years, what would you be doing? Did you ever think about that? Did you have like a dream growing up, hey, I want to be X, Y, Z, that we would have missed out on all the stuff we just talked about?
No, I never did, because I started out at a young age of playing football. And I think it all stemmed from wanting to please my brother, because my brother was my hero. Mm-hmm. And he was very caring. He's only 10 years older than me, but I look back on it later in life and think, okay, when he was 21 and I was 11 and he was taking me camping with his buddies, that was pretty special, because I know when I was 21, I probably would have been doing other things besides hanging out with my 11-year-old brother. So, he really did a great job with me. I never, ever wanted to disappoint him. So football was a thing. And then when that story I told you about my freshman coach, I always knew that, but I don't know. It might have turned out completely bad. If I didn't have the good fortune of great coaches and athletics, it could have turned out not so good. So I'm blessed to have had football and all the people in my life that taught me the right direction and who I never wanted to disappoint. And I think those are my coaches. I always worked really hard because I never wanted to disappoint my coaches because I thought they were great people. And, so I'm thankful for football and what football has meant to my life. And it's a lot, not just about the competitive piece, but the relationships with the players, to watch them be successful. I don't know what would have happened, but I'm just blessed to have football in my life and all the people I've had in my life.
Well, thanks for sitting down with us today, and we're excited for Saturday. And thanks, Paul, for co-hosting, and we'll see you next time on The Pawd.